and avoids a government shutdown. Despite not having their new proposal or ideas, per a statement from proponents of the alternative proposal group, we see that our steadfast advocacy around the importance of funding for youth employment, increasing funding for survivors of gender-based violence, and maintaining CPL's collection fund is now a priority of these alderpersons as well. Their budget proposal or their ideas allegedly removes the garbage fee. Hopefully, this is a sign that through our advocacy for working people, these members understand the importance of not passing budgets that disproportionately impact people already experiencing Trump cuts and struggling to make the ends meet. Our position on our side, we are more than willing to look at any proposal that includes real projections that we can verify with our own numbers, of course. We do have some serious fiscal concerns about some of the fine print of their initial ideas. A budget that relies on overly optimistic revenue projections that fail to materialize will ultimately result in us coming back in the middle of next year to balance our budget to continue the funding of jobs, services, and neighborhood development that Chicagoans have come to rely upon. We need to ensure that all revenue projections are grounded in hard numbers and, of course, reality. Additionally, their proposal would sunset the increase in the PPLT after 1 year, which would blow a massive hole in next year's budget. Currently, because of the structural work that we have put forward and the work that we have done over the first 2 years in office, we are projecting a $477 million gap for next year, which is significantly lower than the budget reality that we came in with. We have reduced the structural imbalance by more than $680 million year over year. With their introduced proposal, we would be looking at a budget gap of more than $700 million, and that's a conservative estimate. We have proposed revenue that is structural so that we can address Chicago's structural deficit with new revenue. We do look forward to the meeting this afternoon as we work to protect working people and, of course, pass a balanced budget. With that, I'm available for questions, and so is my team.
Okay, we're going to do one question and try to get through everybody. Just pass it along. Thanks.
All right. Mayor, it sounds like you're saying that without the corporate head tax, the proposal on the table from the alders, the opposing alders, would exacerbate the city's budget deficit in the coming years, and that it is essential that you have revenue that you can count on. Is that correct? And it seems like, given that the garbage tax has now been abandoned by the alternative proposal, that to these alders that the hang-up is the corporate head tax. Is that your read of where negotiations are? Well,
I think that the hyper interest of corporations, the corporate head tax has always been the issue, right? So that's not a breaking discovery. But to your frame of your question around ensuring that we have structural revenue sources in place to strengthen the long-term viability of our economy, absolutely. And that's just not my projection or analysis. That includes the analysis of the Civic Federation that understand that, as well as the Civic Committee of the Commercial Club, that in order for us to have a vibrant economy moving forward, the practices that we have implemented over the first couple of years have already put us on a pathway for long-term sustainability.
And very quickly, the Federal Transit Administration wanted your CTA safety plan today. Did you submit it?
I believe that today that's going to happen if it hasn't happened already.
Hi, Mayor.
Hi.
As far as kind of timing for the budget goes, you know, obviously we're approaching the holiday. Could you give a sense of, do you anticipate a vote this week? Do you anticipate one next week? Are you guys going to be working around the holiday? What is that going to look like?
Well, I'm working, and so is my team, working around the clock, essentially. We were available last week, including the weekend. Only a couple of alders who have expressed concerns about my budget took us up on that offer. In fact, we did have some meetings we thought scheduled and they were canceled. Our team is available and will continue to be available. And this is not a new project for us. We began working on this the moment I came into office. This year's budget started with conversations and interactions going back 11 months. Roundtable discussions, multiple community meetings. So it's clear that our team certainly has the strong work ethic, and we essentially reflect the work ethic of working people. That's why this budget is so critical, because it ultimately protects working people in this city.
Hi, Mayor.
Hi.
This is the first time we've seen you since Officer Crystal Rivera's family sued the city, alleging the city didn't keep her safe from her former partner, Carlos Baker, and that she was perhaps, you know, that it was a targeted attack as opposed to a tragic accident. Are you concerned that the city did not do enough to protect Officer Rivera?
Well, look, the protection of residents as well as our officers, that's always my top priority. And my prayers are still with Officer Rivera's family. You know, there will be a process that will go through the litigation steps. And so, of course, you know, I can't speak to any of the specifics or the claims that have been made, but I can tell you that our top priority is always to protect residents and, of course, the people who put their lives on the line for the people of this city. And again, our prayers are still with Officer Rivera's family.
And I think I have a question for the budget director, if you don't mind. The alternative budget proposal relies on nearly $50 million from casino games at the airports and sort of expanded gambling. Has your administration determined that that revenue, it cannot be relied on and is not something that should be included in a budget package?
Sure. Jill?
Sure, I can answer that
Jill,
question.
come on over to the microphone.
Thank you, Jill Jaworski, CFO. The revenues that they have proposed are significantly larger than any revenues that our consultant determined would be available if VGTs were approved. Specifically, it looks like they are assuming that we would be at a place where we would have as many VGTs in use as if they had been open, as if we had had VGTs authorized for 10 years under our study. So it was assuming approximately 85% of all locations would have VGTs. Because it takes a long time to go through the licensing process with the Illinois Gaming Board, those are not realistic assumptions that we could rely upon.
Could you speak that in English? Say VGTs, no one understands.
Video gaming terminals.
Could you say it again in a sentence?
Sure. The estimates that they have provided for video gaming terminal revenue, the tax revenue, they're not realistic. We would not have enough video gaming terminals available to generate that tax revenue, even if it was approved with this budget this month.
Hey, Mayor.
Hi.
You've said that you would veto a budget that included garbage fees, and I'm wondering now that you're the people who are opposing your budget and are trying their own are saying they're going to take out garbage fees. Knowing what you know about their budget, would you veto it if it was passed by the City Council?
Well, you know, first of all, it's good that they recognize that my advocacy for working people, it's really to the advantage of all council members to support a budget that protects working people. In terms of what our next steps will be, that's why we're still negotiating. We're not at a point where, you know, I can make, you know, that assertion. What I said, and I still stand by it, is that having a budget that protects working people has always been my top priority, and that's who I'm fighting for. I'm not, you know, necessarily trying to defend these big corporations, right? They already have their defender in chief, and quite frankly, they're already benefiting from tax cuts that they received from the Trump administration. So quite frankly, they don't need any defense. And we're going to continue to negotiate in good faith. That's why my team was available all weekend. I wish they would have taken us up on it, but at least they did do what I did ask, which was to turn something in so that we can review. Now we can have some substantive conversations around a pathway moving forward, but making it very clear that, look, let's not, burden working people. Let's make sure that youth employment is maintained. Again, there are some concerns about their what, quite frankly, I believe are some exaggerated projections. I don't believe that's responsible budget management, particularly because we know that our economy can be quite elastic, and we have to be open and available to trends that we don't have control over, particularly coming from the federal government.
I want to ask a follow-up on that projection issue. You all have noted that it's illegal for the city to not pass a balanced budget. How does that determination get made? Is there some possibility where you all would rule that that's just not a balanced budget?
Yeah.
Annette Guzman, Budget Director. So, as you know, we have to input the budget into a system and do all the calculations. And per state statute, we have to pass a balanced budget. As I have noted to both the chairman of the Budget Committee as well as the Finance Chair, it's important to call upon me to reflect whether or not the projections that have been provided are, in fact, accurate and based on best practice methodologies. And from what we can tell, because we've run the numbers just based on the ordinance language that they've provided, and it does not reflect a balanced budget currently. And we also didn't get any of their backup to understand what assumptions that they're making within their revenue assumptions. One thing that we did know, based on their original letter to us, is just a flat out statement that they think that we've estimated based on the monthly revenue reports that we put out every month. And for those who just read monthly revenue reports without understanding the methodology behind it, could overly include one-time revenues in their assumptions that we obviously control for.
Hi, Mayor.
Hi.
I just came from a press conference with members of the alcohol industry, the hospitality industry, and they're concerned about this alternative budget proposal, including changes to the retail sales tax for takeaway alcohol consumption. They're calling that regressive, saying it would hurt small businesses and consumers. Where do you fall on that? And especially because you proposed a budget without a grocery tax, do you think this is in a similar vein regressive?
Well, look, we've already put forth a proposed budget that challenges these corporations, the largest ones, to put more skin in the game. In fact, some of the feedback that we received was that our community safety surcharge, which is an important investment that corporations want us to make, that we did not situate, our calculation around the technical definition of a small business. So we have even expressed and shown a willingness to shift the threshold for businesses that would be brought into this revenue stream. As far as the liquor lobby, I do understand their concern. I'll just put it point blank. As far as
Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson taking questions from reporters talking about where they're at right now in the budget process for the city. We will keep an eye on that story for you here on Live Now from Fox. We are going to take another 2-minute break. When we come back, we are going to be once again talking about the tragic news of the vicious murder of Rob Reiner and his wife. We'll be breaking it all down, including the suspect in the case having to do with a family member. We'll break it all down. Coming up next on Live Now.
As you gather for the holidays, things don't always go to plan. But a slight detour can bring the sweetest of surprises. There's nothing sweeter than being together. Merry Christmas from Florida Crystals.
I like the vibe in here.
So perfect. Can you believe they're hosting tomorrow?
Yeah, that's why I set them up with all kinds of tech to take the edge off holiday prep. Skylight calendar to stay organized, super easy drinks for hosting, Ray-Ban meta glasses for holiday memories.
Even the dog is chilling. Last year was a bit rough.
No!
This is better.
Yeah, it feels good. It feels safe.
Find an amazing assortment of great tech for the holidays at Best Buy.
Oh, yeah, babe. This is gonna be good. We got a treat for you, folks. Gonna take you to a magical place. All right, here we go.
It's sunshine on a plate.
Thank you, yeah.
Welcome to the premier destination for food. It's a good time.
I enjoy this choose-your-own-adventure style. Very fun and very delicious.
Oh, yeah.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Step inside Stingray Cozy Cafe, where inviting coffee house scenes meet down-tempo lo-fi beats. Tune in to Stingray Cozy Cafe and savor the vibes.
And welcome back to Live Now from Fox. I'm your host, Mike Pace. Always great to be with you as we continue to roll on. Next up, we want to continue to talk about one of the top stories that we have been following for you on the death of Rob Reiner and his wife, Michelle Singer. Reiner's son, Nick, is in custody, booked for murder. According to the Los Angeles Police Chief, Nick Reiner is being held on a $4 million bail. For more information on the story and the investigation, we want to continue to talk about this. Bring in our next guest to help break it all down, attorney Trey Lavelle. Great to have you on, Trey. And this is just a horrible incident, but involves the suspect being a family member. So first off, just how does this maybe complicate issues for extended family members that are just grieving here in this process?
Wow. Well, first, what a horrific, tragic incident. Rob Reiner was an icon in the industry, an incredible producer, director, actor. He was an actor's director. Actors loved working with him. And this is just a huge, huge tragedy. As far as the extended family, I mean, we're so early into what happened, but it's going to be an incredible investigation. The fact that the alleged suspect is his son, who's now in custody. Other family members are going to be, directly wanted to be interrogated, wanted to be inquired with and ask questions to find out exactly what happened if they have any insight. But it's just plunging deep into the family, which is just very, very sad.
Yeah, it's so sad, and it really goes to show that saying with you just never know what a family is going through when that door closes and what's happening really behind the scenes in a household. We are learning through TMZ that in this investigation, unfortunately, the daughter found the bodies of the parents and pretty much right away said that she believed that Nick should be the suspect in this case. Talk to us a little bit about family dynamics when it comes to this and trying to pinpoint just so early in this investigation on Nick Reiner.
Well, that's very telling that the daughter would say that. It kind of starts with the fact that Nick has a history, unfortunately, of drug addiction, of homelessness, of rehab. So we have that backdrop going into that, and one would possibly suspect that was a reason that may have led to this. But the fact that another family member would point the finger at him is very telling. And this is a celebrity family, and celebrity families are raised very differently. When you're a famous father or mother in the industry, the kids are raised very differently than at the average household. So that goes into it as well. But yeah, my heart breaks for the families has to endure this, deal with this. But I think we're going to find some very interesting facts as we get into this investigation.
Yeah, that's so true. And Trey, also want to ask you this question. I think a lot of viewers may be thinking about this as well. For the suspect, Nick, just because he's only a suspect right now, of course, hasn't pled guilty or anything like that, would he be able to still use the family's money for his defense?
He should be able to use the family's money. I mean, whatever is accorded to him. I mean, this is allegations. There's nothing been proven. Whatever financial resources he has access to now really shouldn't be affected. They wouldn't be affected unless possibly there's a conviction and some type of forfeiture, or if there's certainly a civil lawsuit and there's a judgment. But other than that, he's just a suspect, and nothing should change regarding his financial resource.
And what will happen as the criminal investigation will play out, especially in court as well, but civilly as well? Is there anything that the surviving family, the sister and others could do against Nick?
Sure, there certainly could be wrongful death, lawsuits that there very well may be, which are brought by heirs of the deceased against somebody who perpetrated it. But I think we're a little a ways from that. The first is, getting the facts of what happened, the criminal prosecution, if there's going to be one, seeing where that stands, seeing where the facts are. But ultimately, sure, there could be a civil wrongful death action by the heirs.
And Trey, we talked about the $4 million bond there for Nick Reiner. Explain to us why that number is $4 million and how that all kind of goes into play for a suspect.
Well, a number of factors go into determining what the bail will be. The severity of the crime, the financial means of the person that's been arrested. They want to make sure that he's going to show up for his criminal proceedings if they let him out on bail. So they want an amount that is significant enough that's going to make sure he shows up, but oftentimes something that can be accomplished. So, as I said, it's a significant amount, but I'm certain that they're pretty confident that it should be enough to make sure that he shows up for his proceeding.
And for this investigation for police, what is happening right now? Are they looking back maybe at the last 48, 72 hours of the life of Rob Reiner and the movements of his wife? I mean, what's leading up right now into this investigation as the son right now is in jail for this?
Certainly. So absolutely. I mean, the 48 hours, 72 hours are very important. What we know now is that it possibly was a stabbing, and that can mean a number of things. Was it a manslaughter type thing where it is heat of passion, a big argument that led into the acts? Could it be some type of planning, which would be more of a second or even first degree murder? We just don't really know. So the police are getting into that. They're looking at the suspect's Nick's past, the drug addiction. They're looking at the relationships between the family members, what the family's going to know. They're going to look at his social media to see if there's any posts, to find out what there's any intent or any motive potentially. So we're at the precipice of the investigation, but they're going to go into all of that, and they're going to start finding answers pretty quickly.
Yeah, no doubt about that. And also, I'm sure that blood and urine tests have already been taken on the suspect there, and Nick. If he was, let's just say, maybe on drugs or on some sort of substance, could that be used maybe not only against him, but could he use it through his defense as a way of saying, look, I was on heavy amounts of drugs or different substances?
Sure, whether or not he was intoxicated or on drugs is very important. It really affects his mental state. If he were on drugs, he may have attacked them not really knowing what he was doing, which would affect his intent. Or if he wasn't and he was very clear-minded and had planned it, which we don't know, obviously, then that's very important as well. But I think the drugs not only are going to be important for, what happened, what was the state of mind at the time of the incident, but also before, what led to that? Could this somehow have led to the argument? If there was an argument, and so the backdrop of his life and his drug problem is going to be extremely important. It's where the authorities are going to start with, because that's what they know about.
So true. Trey Lavelle, great to have you on. Thanks so much for breaking down the early parts here of this case and investigation. We appreciate it as always. Thanks so much.
Thanks for having me.
No problem. And we'll continue to wait for more updates and key details in this big case out of Southern California. We'll be back here with more on Live Now from Fox in just moments.
Before we talk about coverage, there's something every family in Florida deserves. Luminary Life's free Legacy Planning Guide. When you're on a fixed income, every decision matters, especially when it comes to protecting the people that you love here in Florida.
I'd love to have a simple and solid policy that I can leave behind to protect my family.
That's why thousands of seniors trust Luminary Life, because we focused on the 3 essentials: stability, simplicity, and savings.
I'm 62. What would something like this cost me?
We'll help you secure final expense life insurance with rates starting at just $1 a day, with no medical exam, no doctor visit, and no health questions. If you're between 50 and 85, your acceptance is guaranteed. But what families appreciate the most is the free Legacy Planning Guide we send to every caller. Just call 888-814-1533. Inside, you'll find checklists, beneficiary pages, important contacts, and everything your family needs all in one place. Call now to get your free Legacy Planning Guide at 888-814-1533. That's 888-814-1533. Call now.
Good to see you. Sorry it has to be under these circumstances.
I've been told you've had a murder. You want to tell me about it?
It's a crime. I am trying to solve it.
Well, are you ready?
Call me Mr. Tips. Read these guys and write some book.
That was the most fun I had in ages.
And welcome back to Live Now from Fox. I'm your host, Mike Page. Always great to be with you as we continue to roll on. Next up, I do want to go back out live here to the House floor. Several lawmakers continuing to make remarks. Let's listen in.
Milk are the healthiest options for children 2 years and older. Whole milk contains far more saturated fat, cholesterol, and calories than fat-free and low-fat milk. In a nation where the obesity rate of children is over 16%, and children are already facing obesity-related challenges such as type 2 diabetes, high cholesterol, and high blood pressure, we should not ignore the stance of dietitians, nutritionists, pediatricians, and the overall science. Mr. Speaker, I remain committed to ensuring that students have access to the healthiest dairy options in accordance with science-backed guidelines. But S222 contradicts that commitment by interfering with the independent process that aligns child nutrition standards with the latest science. Furthermore, I'm disappointed that after months of Republican-led political brinksmanship, we're still considering a bill that does nothing meaningful to address child nutrition or hunger. Bottom line is that members of Congress should not inject politics into child nutrition standards at the expense of nutritious school meals that our children need. Those reasons, I urge my colleagues to oppose S222 and yield back the balance of my time.
No, the gentleman from Pennsylvania is recognized to close.
Mr. Speaker, I yield myself the balance of my time.
Gentleman's recognized.
Mr. Speaker, I have proudly led this charge to restore whole milk and school meal programs for the last decade. And I'm grateful to those who played a role in this effort, including the House Education Workforce Committee Chairman Tim Walberg, former Chairwoman Virginia Fox, my co-lead, Congresswoman Kim Schreier, who is a pediatrician, my Senate companion colleagues, Senators Roger Marshall, Peter Welch, Dave McCormick, and John Fetterman. My staff, my personal office, and on the House Agriculture Committee who have worked tirelessly to advance this bill every step of the way, especially my legislative director, Faith Tuttle. The National Milk Producers Federation, and in particular, Paul Blyberg, the International Dairy Food Association, the Farm Bureau, the Pennsylvania Farm Bureau, and the most dedicated grassroots movement in America, 97 Milk, including the leadership of Bernie Morrissey and Sherry Bunting, Nelson Troutman, Krista Byler, Christine Ebersole, Dr. Edward Silverman, and a host of parents and dairy farmers. Thank you. Thank you to each and every one of these individuals who put their mark on this bill in a meaningful way. I encourage all of my colleagues to support this legislation and drink whole milk. Mr. Speaker, I yield back the balance of my time.
Gentleman from Pennsylvania yields. The question is, will the House suspend the rules and pass Senate 222? Those in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. In the opinion of the chair, 2/3 being in the affirmative, the rules are suspended, the bill is passed, and without objection, the motion to reconsider is laid on the table.
All right, everyone. So we will continue to look at the House floor for additional comments by lawmakers. We do want to take another 2-minute break on Live Now. We are also keeping an eye out in Rhode Island at Brown University. You are taking a look here at FBI still on the scene. The manhunt continues for the Brown University shooter that happened over the weekend. A live look right now as investigators continuing to comb through the campus right now. We'll be back here with more on Live Now from Fox when we come back.
As you gather for the holidays, things don't always go to plan. But a slight detour can bring the sweetest of surprises. There's nothing sweeter than being together. Merry Christmas from Florida Crystals.
Right now at Papa John's, create your own pizza for only $9.99. Any toppings on original, thin, or New York style crust. All $9.99. Usually a pizza with no artificial flavors, colors, or additives costs more. But Papa John's knows you deserve better. Order now.
Big 12 is home of the teams that are bound to compete. Welcome to Inside the 12. A whole bunch of players and a whole bunch of teams ready to go out there and win a Big 12 championship.
Join us for an unforgettable journey.
We are taking you to get curious.
Keep on traveling.
There's nothing more awe-inspiring than nature. There are no bigger heroes than those who protect its future. Explore your world every day on Earth Day 365.